Have you ever noticed how the quietest person in the room often feels like the most powerful? They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't fight for attention. Yet somehow, people notice them more. Silence has a strange effect on the human mind. It can make people lean in. It can create tension. It can even make others reveal more than they planned. Today, we're not talking about silence as weakness. We're talking about silence as psychology, and why, when used intentionally, it works. Imagine this. You're in a conversation. Someone makes a slightly disrespectful comment. Nothing dramatic. Just subtle enough to test you. Most people react immediately. They defend themselves. They over-explain. They laugh it off nervously. But you don't say anything. You pause. You hold eye contact. You stay calm. Suddenly the energy shifts. The other person starts talking again. They add extra words. They explain themselves. Sometimes they even apologize. Why does this happen? Because silence creates psychological pressure. Humans are wired to avoid uncertainty. When someone talks, we know where we stand. When someone goes quiet, our brain starts filling in gaps. Psychologists call this cognitive discomfort. Silence removes feedback. No approval. No rejection. No clarity. And the mind hates that. So people rush to fill the silence, often revealing their true thoughts, insecurities, or intentions. This is why silence works so well in negotiations, interviews, and difficult conversations. The quiet person controls the pace. Here's something most people don't realize. Confident people don't feel the need to prove themselves constantly. They speak when they have something to say, and they're comfortable when they don't. Silence communicates. I'm not anxious. I don't need validation. I'm grounded. Even without saying a word, others subconsciously read this as authority. That's why leaders often pause before speaking. That pause isn't accidental. It draws attention. Silence makes words feel heavier when they finally arrive. Over-explaining is usually driven by fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being disliked. Fear of losing control of the situation. Silence breaks that pattern. When you stop filling every gap with words, you give people space to think. And sometimes that space does the work for you. People begin to respect boundaries they can't push through easily. Silence becomes a filter. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. One of the strongest forms of self-control is emotional restraint. Reacting immediately feels powerful in the moment, but it often hands control to the other person. Silence gives you time. Time to regulate emotions. Time to observe. When you respond instead of reacting, your words land differently. This is why silence is often mistaken for indifference, but it's actually awareness. You're choosing your response instead of being driven by impulse. Silence is powerful, but it's not about disappearing or avoiding communication. It works best when you're being provoked. You're being tested. You're in a negotiation. You want clarity, not chaos. Silence isn't passive. It's intentional. It creates space. It reveals dynamics. It lets people show you who they are. In a world that rewards noise, silence feels radical. But sometimes, the most impactful thing you can do is pause. Say less. Observe more. Let others speak. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of information. And once you understand that, you stop fearing quiet moments. You start using them.